Hello everyone, we're going to start with conference number 16, the observation of oneself or the self-observation. This conference is really important because this is a sense that is right now atrophied in mankind and is the starting point in order to eliminate our ego. Um, if we want to eliminate all that inner darkness and rescue the light of wisdom and the fire of love, we need to awaken this power, this sense, this faculty that we call the self-observation. It's fundamental to develop that in order to direct our attention to our inner world, our microcosmos, and perceive really what's happening there. All the emotions, all the thoughts, all the instincts, all the desires, all our actions, and distinguish what is happening. Know when the force of ego is taking control of us and make us act in a way that we are totally enslaved by the force of ignorance, injustice, and hate. So the objective is to know and develop this sense that allows us to make radical changes. If we don't get to see ourselves as we really are and perceive that inner darkness, accept that and recognize that, if we keep camouflaging that, thinking that we are perfect, that we are fine, that we are good citizens, good family members, good colleagues, we are going to be totally hypnotized by the force of ego, and we are not going to be able to change those wrong behaviors that we have, those habits, those ways to be that are in our ego. So there we have all our lust, all our anger, all our vanity, pride, all that sober, those defects that we have in our hidden dark part that is the inner world that we never observe. So to know and to observe are really different aspects. We think that we know ourselves. We are totally used to what we are. We always act in the same way. We think in the same way. We feel the same things and act in a really mechanical way. And it takes an effort for us to observe how we are acting, how we are feeling, what we are planning to do, what we are planning to say, how we act and react mechanically and instinctively in the different circumstances of our lives. So observation is something that really requires an effort. It's really active, directing our attention consciously and dynamically to our inner world and perceiving how in a circumstance of our daily life, for instance, if we are stuck in a traffic jam, we want to shout, we want to yell, we want to insult people. There are different mechanical reactions that we are not able to control because we don't observe them. So we are totally passive, and when we resign ourselves with the thought that we know how we act, that we are aware of that, we are totally passive and we let us carry by the force of those mechanical reactions. We are not having an attention towards our inner world. We are not perceiving and controlling and being aware of those reactions that are produced in the external part, are really mechanical. And for instance, if we are not observing and directing our attention to our inner world, we are just going to let the defects act. If we are stuck in the traffic jam, just we are going to shout, we are going to insult, we are going to tell people to step aside because I have to get to work early. and we are going to be controlled by our egos. But if we are observing what's happening, we are directing consciously the attention to those reactions, and we are going to question that. We are going to judge those mechanical reactions. We are going to take a time to direct the attention there and make conscious what really is something that is unconscious. We are going to notice that in my emotional center there is an ego that feels antipathy, that feels hate, that feels frustration. In the instinctive center there is an ego that is telling me you need to insult that person that is moving really slow. You need to tell him that he is just dumb, that is he's doing things that are well, silly, and you need to just act in a way that you think that you're going to make things change. You are going to move people with your insults, with your impatience, and you're going to let all those defects control you and profit from your emotional energy, your mental energy, your instinctive energy, and your motor energy. Your motor energy are your words and your actions. So when you're not observing what's happening in your inner world, it's so easy that those defects take the human machine and profit from your energy and make you do things that you later, when you analyze and meditate the situation, you're going to regret. Oh, this was totally silly that I acted in that way. It was totally unconscious because uh, I didn't solve anything. I didn't solve the traffic jam with my insults, with my frustration, with my anger. I didn't change the situation because it was something that couldn't be changed. But I exploded in an anger reaction and I lost totally my energy. I ended up totally uh, well, without strength, without energy, totally without wanting to do anything, not being in the mood for anything because I'm so angry, I'm so stressed up. And that's what happens when you're not observing what happens in your inner world. You let uh, your defects take you uh, to any circumstance, and well, they take control of you as if you were a puppet. They manipulate you in order for you to give the energy to them. uh, the ego of anger says you need to insult. It's necessary that you insult because that way you are going to make those silly people well uh, start their car and start moving. The ego of hate also says you better get out of the car and start shouting and screaming with your hands. All of your defects want you to do something, to say something, and you are totally manipulated as a puppet if you're not observing what's happening. But if you are observing in an attentive way, you can discover those defects and beg to your Divine Mother. Divine Mother, eliminate me this ego that wants to shout, that wants to insult, that wants to intimidate people with some object in order for them to move, and all the defects that you think about and that you see, because it's something that you are watching, not something that you are imagining or inventing, but what you are feeling in that moment is a real thing, is an action that's happening in the real world. What's happening in your inner world are your thoughts, your emotion, and they are going to be sooner translated into actions and words, because your thoughts and emotions lead you to do things with your actions and words. So the observer and the observed. It's really important that you put yourself in the side of the observer. The observer is when you are able to get out of the scene in which you are and observe the scene from outside. You are not identified with a psychological defect. You are not going to be the defect. You are going to be observing the defect from outside of the scene. You are going to be uh, critically judging what's happening. Is this my conscience, or is this the force of my ego? Is this something that is useful, truthful, fair, or is it just my anger, my lust, my pride acting and taking control of me? So when, in the other hand, when you are identified with a defect, you become the defect and you are inside of the scene. You cannot go outside from that movie that is mechanical, because you're inside of the scene that is being manifested. Your thoughts and your emotions are going to lead you to act in certain way, to have certain mechanical reactions, just to act in the way you always act. You're not going to question, is this my conscience or is this my ego? You're just going to mechanically let yourself be carried by lust, by hate, by um, rancor, all those defects that you have in your inner world. Let's let's put an example. Let's assume that you are with your couple and you trust in your couple, but you're walking down the street and you see your couple with someone else, and they are totally flirting. Uh, they are even having like an affair, and you see them and you're totally indignated, frustrated, letting yourself carried by jealousy. Well, obviously there's something going on there, and you just want to explode. You want to hit the person. You want to insult the person, and your couple, you're wanting to be violent or to take revenge, and all those are your thoughts and emotions. And in that moment, if you let yourself be carried by those thoughts and emotions, I want to take revenge. I'm going to take something and hit that person and hit my couple, and do this because I'm going to punish them because he's committing adultery. So I really frustrated. I was a good couple with him or with her. So all those are the mechanical reactions, your defects of being possessive, being jealous, being angry, wanting to take revenge, punishing, being violent. And you think about that and you feel that way. But if you're not willing to control those thoughts and emotions, and those emotions you do don't observe them, what are they going to lead you to? So you don't back to your divine mother. Divine mother, eliminate me this ego that wants to be violent. You maybe you let yourself be carried by that emotion of being violent, of taking revenge, and you do something like hurting them. Well, you sooner or later are going to have to assume the consequences of those egos of violence, of ending up in jail, ending in a hospital, all those consequences of your egos. Because you cannot control what people do. Maybe your couple is going to leave you, or maybe not, but you cannot control people. You just want you're just wanting to do something that is not going to solve the situation, but it's going to make it worse. So you need to meditate and reflect on those emotions, those thoughts, and those mechanical reactions that all your defects are telling you in that moment to do something. what is the consequence of this that I am going to do? Is this something that is going to lead me to awaken my conscience, or to sleep myself in this psychological dream that is my ego? So, am I going to trap my conscience in anger, violence, hate, or am I going to profit that circumstance that maybe is a really awful circumstance, because I was really attached to that couple. I felt a lot of um, emotions of attachment to that person. But if I'm not willing to eliminate all those emotions, I'm not going to, well, enlighten up my conscience and profit the situations in order to extract all the wisdom and love that is trapped in those defects. So I'm always tending to blame people, to criticize people, and look to the outside. I cannot force people. I cannot be tyrant with people and tell them, you need to change, you are committing something that is really bad, and you cannot force people to eliminate their own defects. You can criticize them, you can look at their defects, but in that moment, what I need to reflect on is how many times I have committed adultery. Have I betrayed my couples? In the past, if I had another couple, did I betray him or her? Was I faithful and loyal in order to ask and expect loyalty and fidelity from someone? Or is just a karma that I need to pay or to assume? I'm going to reflect on my own defects and eliminate my own defects, because I cannot force someone to change or be different. They have the power to make inner justice for themselves, but I cannot make someone change. That is attempting towards what is the free will. You need to respect the free will. If people want to commit mistakes, if they want to feed their ego, well, it's their decision. But I have my decision, and I have my duty to have the power of inner self-observation. And this duty it's telling me that I need to change. I need to direct consciously my attention to my inner world in order to see my inner darkness first, because I have a lot of defects in order to expect people to be perfect and to behave in a conscious way in any circumstances towards me. So I need to stop expecting everyone to be perfect and start making inner justice with my own defects. First of all, because that is our cosmic duty, and that is going to awaken our conscience in an effective way. That is going to make us move forward and not being stuck in the same mechanical reactions and the same vicious circles that we always commit. Well, we need to differentiate from two things that we mistake: to think and to observe. We mistakenly think that we are perfect, that we behave in a good way because we respect certain rules of living with people in a society. And you say, no, I have never been to Yale, I'm perfect, I am a good citizen, I take out my trash in an organized way, and you recognize all those concepts, all those habits that you think are good, and in a certain way you're like, behaving in a good way. But if you only see that side of yourself and you think you are totally perfect, well, you're going to be feeding those concepts, feeding always prejudices against people that don't act in the way you act, all those beliefs that you have been establishing from your from the moment you were raised. You said, I grew up in a good family, they told me to behave in this way, so I'm a good person, I don't commit felonies, and those theories and those ideas of what's being uh, a good person. But if you uh, stuck there with those theories and you don't get to see your inner darkness, your own obscurity, you are not going to be profound in recognizing what you have in your inner world. Those creations of your ego are beyond the superficial part, beyond your personality, those concepts that you were raised with, that you were in a traditional family with good rules, with good habits. All those are beliefs, are thoughts, are theories, because if you see yourself as you really are, and your mechanical reactions and what triggers inside of you in any circumstance, in really extreme circumstances, you can perceive what happens inside of you. For instance, that you are not attended in a cafeteria, that the person who's attending there it's totally ignoring you. There is an ego that wants to explode, to insult the person who's attending, that wants to just leave and insult a person that wants to come in at night and just vandalize and destroy the place. Well, there are many egos, and you need to just observe what's happening in your reality, in your inner world, in any extreme circumstance. You are going to discover that, and you are going, as long as you're really observing, you are going to discover that you're not so perfect as you thought you were, that maybe you're feeding internal reactions, egos that wish bad things to happen to someone, that wants to take revenge, that wants to shout, that wants to scream. Or maybe you think that you're totally faithful, that you're a good couple, and in your inner world there is an ego that is really lascivious, that is feeling frustrated, sexual attraction to other persons, that for the prototype of beauty, maybe you see someone with this type of eyes, this color of hair, this form or physical shape of the body, and you're totally feeling attraction and feeling sexually aroused by that person, and you thought in your personality that you were so faithful to your wife, and you were so truthful, and you were totally in love. But there is an ego maybe that is wanting to flirt with that person, that is wanting to leave his wife because of that person. And if you direct consciously your attention to your inner world, you are going to see and recognize and accept all what is happening there. You're going to really get to identify what is happening and what is manifesting there. You're going to understand, oh, okay, that is sexual tension, that is an ego that is frustrated, that is has a sexual frustration because of the prototype of beauty. And I am understanding that is the force of lust, the force of the prototype of beauty, those external concepts that I have of what I think is attractive, that I think is beauty, the physical shape that is something externally, that is, well, something that is like totally, well, it's a void, it's not real, it's something that is going to pass away with time. That person is going to age, is going to lose that physical shape that attracted me, and something that is not real. it's ephemeral. It's only going to be for a moment. And I understand that is the ego of lust that gets totally fascinated and hypnotized with those physical appearances, and I eliminate those egos, those prototypes of beauty, and I value my couple for what he or she represents, that force of love, that force of fidelity, of being constant, being understanding, being collaborating with me all the time, and that person that helps me uh, build the existential bodies for my being, and that is building the force of love in my sexual practices of the kundalini. So I understand and reflect of many things, and I eliminate all the egos that I am observing. So it's different to think about yourself are concepts of personality. You think that you're from a higher status, from a high social status, so you are better. You have good habits, uh, good education. So you are not going to be instinctive, act in a violent way. And those are concepts, because you can act in a violent way at any moment, at any extreme circumstances. Those egos are there, and the personality doesn't matter for anything. It's only the external part. Uh, Even if you are from a higher status, that doesn't mean that you are educated, that you are honest, that you are disciplined, that you are moral. No, it's only a concept, and all the concepts of personality you have, you need to destroy them in order to see the transcendental, in order to see the truthful, and in order to see what's inside and beyond all that superficial part. So mm, you may think of yourself that if you're really intellectual, that if you have been to a university, you have learned a lot and you have become wise. But being intellectual is not being wise. Being wise is discovering with your intuition how to act in a truthful, fair, and, uh, and in a useful way. If you're not acting in that way, you're just being intellectual and feeding the defects of pride, of superiority, of being cold. Well, a lot of defects are there. Thinking yourself that you have many theories and concepts, and because of that you are superior. But those are really a lot of concepts and are superficial, are not the real part of what's happening inside of you. So you need to direct and verify what's happening in your inner world. When you verify, you're no longer going to have to believe. Uh, Many people believe uh, concepts because they haven't experienced them in their inner world. For instance, I have the belief that fire burns, but it's different to believe in that than to put your finger in the fire and really verifying that it burns. I have experienced that. I have directly have the the experience of living that. So you need to have the experiences of in your inner world to recognize and accept that inner darkness that is going to liberate you and give you the wisdom and love you need to discover from instant to instant in that present, liberating the conscience that is trapped in your psychological defects. So there are two worlds. The exterior world that we think that is the only thing that exists, the third dimension in which we have our physical body, the objects we can perceive with the five senses. That we think that is the only real thing. uh, the external world, it fascinates us, it hypnotizes us, but it's not the only thing that's real. There's also the superior dimensions of nature that we cannot perceive them because they are in higher levels of conscience. So in the astral dimension, we can travel. When we go to sleep, we can have a dream, and that dream has an hidden information from our being. We can call that the astral projection. That astral projection, it's a higher level of conscience because we are not vibrating in the third dimension, but we are vibrating in the fifth dimension, that is the molecular world, not the cellular world of our physical body, but it's a molecular world. We have that internal part of us that is the astral body, and we can travel to that place that is the astral world and perceive a higher level of conscience that the exterior world doesn't have. So we can ask our being to tell us how to eliminate a defect, in which existence am I, who's the real couple that is going to help me work in the sexual transmutation to awaken the power of the Kundalini. All that you can ask to your being. That is the power of wisdom, justice, and love. And it's in those higher levels of conscience. But we are totally fascinated with the external world. We think that's the only thing that's real. We are really materialistic. We just want to achieve power, status, recognition, money, and we get fascinated and totally mesmerized with that. The external science, the things we can perceive with the telescope, the microscope, we think that's the only thing that's real. The official science has discovered this, and that is what is real because they have a lot of tools, they had a lot of scientific advances, and we totally get fascinated by that. But there are higher dimensions and higher levels of conscience in which you can experience things that are even bigger than this reality. They are aspects that are connected to this superior vibration that is justice, wisdom, and love, and you can travel to that place that is eternity. There you can find the past, the present, and the future totally connected. You can awaken the power of clairvoyance, the power of presentiment, of of magical hearing, all those powers and faculties of your being that are in that inner world. That's why the Greeks told us, man, know thyself, and you will know the universe and the gods, because inside of yourself there is all the wisdom and love that makes part of the whole universe. But because we are totally fascinated with this external world, we can not perceive those higher levels of conscience that we can only perceive when we develop the sense of the self-observation, and we uh, become aware of what's happening in that inner world, and we make a voluntary effort and a conscious sacrifice to do inner transformations. Oh, I'm going to deny myself to be so hateful, so resented. I'm going to forgive this person. I'm going to stop being so unfaithful, so adultery, so fascinated by the prototype of beauty. I am going to discover fidelity, chastity, love. I'm going to save my sexual creative energy in order to build the existential bodies of my being. So I'm going to make sacrifices. I'm going to sacrifice the pleasure and the pain that those psychological defects well want me to fit. The ego of Lust wants me to feed the pleasure of, well, finding, finding, well, satisfaction in feeding those low instinctive forces of being attracted to the prototype of beauty, of wanting to do low things in the sexual aspect of consuming pornography, all those negative uh, things that are trapped in the obscurity of what is the defect of lust. But if I eliminate that negative force that is destructive for me and destructive for my conscience, destructive for the people that surround me, I'm going to liberate uh, the fire that is trapped in that defect, and that is the ability to discover love, and the light that is trapped there in that defect, that is the wisdom. This defect manipulates me in this way. It wants me to consume these negative things like pornography, and wants to feed my mechanical imagination, arousing me with different prototypes of beauty, and in order to not awaken the force of love, but totally be fascinated with the defects of lust and lasciviousness. So I'm going to destroy that negative force in order to have the conscious will to discover fidelity, chastity, and love towards my real couple, the real couple of my being, who is going to create love in the sexual aspect. With my sexual creative energy, ascending it through my spinal cord, I can ascend higher levels of conscience. I can awaken that free and conscious will, that strength and force of denial, in order to resist myself any temptation that can enslave me. So I'm willing to discover that, and I'm going to make a transcendental change in my inner world, eliminating all that inverted fire. I'm going to discover this ascending fire that is going to be the force of justice, wisdom, and love, and making me totally destroy that negative aspect that dominated me and enslaved me. So those two worlds is really important to differentiate them, because if we are totally fascinated with the external world, it's going to sooner or later pass, and this human existence is going to pass away with time. We are going to one day become old, become dominated by all our physical karmas, all the diseases, and finally we are going to lose our physical body, and we didn't do anything transcendental. Because if we got fascinated because the concept of having a higher status, a lot of comfort, a lot of wealth, a lot of money, a lot of academical titles, we are not going to take anywhere else that those things that we achieved in this third dimension, in this world. Our existence is going to pass, and we are going to die, and all those things that we achieved and we thought that were real are going to vanish away with time, with our personality as well. So if we keep totally trapped in those external observations, our existence is going to pass, and we are going to lose the opportunity to awaken our conscience in this existence and see something that is beyond the profound, that the transcendental thing that is vibrating there in these higher levels of conscience that are the superior dimensions of nature. So it's different to observe and to self-observe. There in observation, you can recognize the mechanical conditions of the world. Science is able to do a lot of external transformations, a lot of surgeries, operations with your physical body, and can solve for one moment certain karmas that you have in your physical body. Uh, it controls the external phenomena and the relation with the external world. It's something from your personality, and it has an external representation and is valid as well. We have it, but there is nothing like the self-observation. The self-observation is going to make us change in a real way. We can be able to control all that fire that it's making us react, that is making us lose our energy, that is making us trap our conscience. And that psychological work is what we really need to perform in this existence, because with that force we are going to awaken faculties, powers, and forces that we never imagined that we could have. And we can perceive those real things that are there in the higher dimensions or levels of conscience that are going to make us, well, really transcend, really help mankind, and really pay our karmas and advance in our psychological work, in our spiritual work. So we need to urgently, with our self-observation, direct our attention there to that microcosmos, in order for that God, that latent God we have, like a hidden God inside ourselves, that is the wisdom of our being. We can connect with that aspect. We can awaken that force inside ourselves, that is our conscience, that is able to do things that we never imagined that we could do. Discover those higher levels of conscience and change things that are mechanical in our life. So all the circumstances that we encounter our life are a consequence of what we have inside of us. We attract awful circumstances because our defects. If we attract situations of adultery, if it's because we have the ego of adultery, of unfaithfulness. If we attract circumstances of anger, it's because we have those egos of anger, of hate, of impatience. If we attract those circumstances of greed or of poverty, it's because we have those defects of being cheap, or being of our wasteful egos that want to just waste our money in things that are not important, in just things that are really for comfort and for just luxury, but they are not important. So we have those egos of just being greedy, being cheap, and just wasting that wealth. So all those psychological defects attract poverty, attract circumstances of economical karmas, attract what we have in our external world. So it's really necessary to discover our defects, because they are the cause, the consequence of what we encounter, our difficult circumstances that we encounter in our daily life. They are just a consequence. So with self-observation, we can change all those mechanical situations and difficult circumstances that we have to face. They are a result of the law of karma. We let a defect act and take control of us, then we have to pay the karma in order to understand the psychological defect that produce that consequence in our external world. So even if we have a lot of comfort, a lot of technical advances, a lot of discoveries in the official science, that doesn't mean that we are advancing in our inner world. We are totally stepping back. We are totally with our conscience slept. We want to destroy people. We are not caring for our environment. We are destructing the the society in which we live because of our defects. Uh, well, countries right now are declaring war against each other, and all that reality that we face in society we live is the mirror in which we should look right now, even if we think we are perfect. So those external circumstances, we always victimize ourselves. We think that is unfair, that why does this happen to me? I haven't got the fault. I'm such a good person. Awful things happen to me. But we haven't taken the time to reflect. Well, if my couple betrayed me, how many times have I betrayed the people that were my couple before, or how many times do I have felt the defect of lasciviousness that wants to have sex with any prototype of beauty that fascinates me. So inside of me, I have many egos of adultery, but I don't want to admit it. I don't want to recognize it because it's easier for me to think that I'm a good person, that this is totally undeserved, that it is totally unfair what's happening to me. So external knowledge and internal knowledge, as I was saying, those are things that we need to reflect on, because the laws of the physical world, well, we see them in the external part, the law of gravity, uh, the law of relativity, all those discoveries of official science, they well, have been good for certain advances, or they have been used for atomic bombs as well. But the laws of the intimate world are superior, because there we can know the laws of karma, the laws of recurrence, the laws of the pendulum. The pendulum is all the defects that wants to lead you from pleasure to pain. That is the pendulum. But what's in the middle of the pendulum is awakening our conscience and uh, uh, saving our energy and balancing the centers of our human machine. When we encounter these laws of the intimate world that are from a superior nature, we are going to well, discover things that are higher and even bigger than the laws of the physical world, because they don't get to change what's urgent for us to change, that it's our circumstances of inner darkness, the lack of enlightenment that we have, the lack of conscience to act in a way that we grow internally, and we profit the power of love and wisdom in order to help mankind. So if we knew the laws of karmas, the laws of recurrence, the laws of the pendulum, the laws of octaves and entropy, those are spiritual laws that we are going to learn in many conferences, and they are of a higher nature. They allow us to reflect and be conscious and aware of what's happening and in our inner world, and transcending all the mechanical circumstances that we encounter because of our psychological defects. This, for example, is the law of telepathy. We attract what we have inside. If you have situations of that you're really greedy, that you're really profiting people, that you are a boss that wants to exploit your employee, well, you're going to attract circumstances of economical karma, because those are what you deserve, the law of karma and the law of telepathy. You attract what's inside of you. That is the law of correspondence. Those laws that are from a superior nature, you are going to learn them in these conferences, and you are going to learn how to manage them, get to know them, and work with them in order to transcend all the circumstances of your inner world and learn, experience the profound meaning of everything that you live in life. because those experiences have a profound uh, um, thing that you need to learn. You need to awaken the power of wisdom, justice, and love in any circumstance to absorb the profound meaning of everything that you live. So the confusion between observation and self-observation, uh, well, it's going to make you lose your center of gravity. Your center of gravity is that you need to um, have be conscious that if you give more importance to your egos, to your personality, to what you do in your external world in order to work towards the enlightening of your conscience in your inner world, well, you are not going to have so much force in order to escape from those mechanical process of your external world. You need to be aware of your external circumstances. That is something that is helpful. For instance, that you need to not eat poison, that you need to not surround yourself with bad companies because you're going to well, act in the way they all act. If you have friends that take you to taverns and to brothels, well, you are surrounded by those people. Well, your psychological world, it's going to have many temptations, and well, the most probable is that you tend to act in the way that they all act, because the psychology of the group and the personality of acting the way they act and being accepted, being recognized, being part of the group. You also need to know that it's really dangerous to walk in a dark alley, and those are external knowledge that are valuable, but the most important is to be aware of your inner world, because there, in your astral projection, your being can warn you from any situation that you're going to encounter. Beware, because tomorrow you're going to have a recurrence of fighting with your couple, or a recurrence of having an accident. Work on these psychological defects in order to transcend that karma, and those warnings in the astral projection and from the force of your conscience are going to be even more helpful than that external knowledge. Also, this is valuable as well, but the knowledge you extract from that inner work in the awakening of your conscience, it's going to save you from many situations and prevent you from well, feeding the defects that can end up with your life, that can put you in difficult circumstances that are really hard to overcome. So it's really important to value this existence in order to do the work of awakening your conscience and working towards the self-realization that is awakening all the justice, wisdom, and love of your being, and integrating with that higher level of conscience that you have inside, that is the 3% of justice, wisdom, and love. So this is the conference. It's well, I have to remind you that it's important to acquire that magnetic center of gravity in order to work in your inner world with the 3 factors, just eliminating all your defects, begging your divine mother, Divine Mother, eliminate me this defect of alcoholism, or this defect of well, lasciviousness, the lust, or this defect of anger, this defect of greed. That is going to liberate the essence that you need in order to work in the creation of the existential bodies of your being, the sexual transmutation with your stable couple from the opposite sex. It's going to make those free essences ascend through your spinal cord, and the sacrifice for mankind, it's going to help you develop the conscious and uninterested work that is going to awaken the power of love inside yourself to share this pure knowledge with mankind in order for each one of us to do their job of awakening the conscience. So this is going to help you acquire a center magnetic of gravity in order to work for what's transcendental and not being fascinated with personality. So this was the conference of the observation